So here I am in my early 20s, and I'm getting ready to buy this major studio. And I had no idea how I was going to go about it. From the time I was a little boy, I've always loved music. It's been in my life for as long as I can remember. It's emotional, it's powerful. From the very first record that really grabbed me, which happened to be Michael Jackson's Thriller. I remember going to the studio with my mother, playing drums on her very first album. And it was a real studio. It blew my mind. It's really where I fell in love with the process of making music. I had to bug the engineers in there to death, no doubt, and the producer. And so I created a little studio after that, and I would skip school to record artists and started a little band called Empire that I played drums in, and that evolved into an acoustic duet where I ended up getting roped into playing acoustic guitar and singing. Just recorded music and just loved the process, every style. And that led me to want to go to engineering school, so I went to college and got a degree in audio engineering. The very next day, I was hired by a little small independent record label here in Charlotte, and that's actually what brought me to Charlotte. And I began cutting my teeth there. They had their own studios, and I would work day and night trying to fine-tune my craft and get better and better at it. And I worked with a ton of artists, and it was an amazing process, an amazing time in my life. But I always knew that I wanted to do it my way and kind of do things the way I felt like they should be done. And so I decided to venture out on my own, and I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a plan B. It was just time to move on and time to do my own thing. So I took a leap of faith and just said, let's go for it. So literally one of the last weeks I was there working on an album, the drummer that I always use, Tony, called me the night before and said, Glenn, I can't make the session tomorrow. My wife's going into labor, my baby girl's coming, but I have a backup plan for you. There's a great drummer in Charlotte named Donnie Marshall, and I've already called him. He can do it. Here's his number. So I called Donnie, and Donnie agreed and said, man, I'll come over and help you out. So Donnie and I recorded for a few days on this project, and we really had a great time. Enjoyed working with him. And at the end of that day, he said, man, I know Tony's your guy, but if you need anything in the future, don't hesitate to call me. Feel free to give me a buzz. And I said, well, ironically, this is one of my last sessions here at this record label. I'm going to move on and don't know where I'm going to go. He said, you don't know where you're going to go? What are you going to do? And I said, I'm just not sure. I'm going to have to figure that out. And he said, well, I've got a couple of friends in Charlotte they've started a studio. They've almost finished construction, and the rooms are functional. Why don't you come over next week? I'm going to be there next week recording, and man, I'll introduce you. I said, well, I don't have any plans next week, so let's do it. So the next week, Donnie and I came into this very room. In fact, it was on a Wednesday evening. I remember it like it was yesterday. And that's where I met Conrad and Jake. And those guys had a contract with a karaoke company, the largest karaoke company in America at the time. And they would do many songs for them every 2 weeks. And that's what they were working on that evening. And Conrad and I really hit it off, and we had a great session. And he asked me what I was going to do, and I told him I didn't know. And he said, do you need a place to work out of? And I said, well, I guess so. And he said, do you need an office? And I said, maybe. He said, well, we've got an extra room here, and we've got a desk on the back dock. Would you like that? And the next thing I knew, I had an office and a desk and a studio to work out of. Once I was in that office, Gat3 was born. And I got really busy. I started working with a lot of different artists from all over the country, and I started recording so many records that I really needed to find my own place. So after a couple of years, I went to Conrad and Jake and said, hey guys, I think I'm gonna need to build my own room, and I don't know where that's gonna be or how long that's gonna take, but I really wanted to come to you guys first. You guys gave me a great opportunity here, and I want to make sure that I honor that. And literally the next morning they came to me and said, you need to buy us out. And by that point, they both kind of moved in a little different direction and different areas, and it just made sense that I do that I buy them out. And I didn't know how I was going to do it or what it was going to take, but 6 months later, I bought them out. So here I am in my early 20s, and I'm getting ready to buy this major studio. And I had no idea how I was going to go about it. So my first instinct was to go to people who I thought were smart businessmen. And Susan had a fantastic corporate job at the time, and the owners of that company were really sharp, and I actually requested a meeting with them, and they gave it to me. And I had worked up my business plan and all the numbers and projections, and boy, I thought I was smart. And I went to them and I sat down and I showed them everything. And they looked at me and said, Glenn, if all your numbers are right and all this data is correct, you don't need us. Why are you here? Do it. So I was shocked by that. I left, and I was kind of defeated because I thought, man, they're just kind of blowing me off. They didn't want to deal with it. Fair enough, I'll find another way. I got the bright idea that I would next go to a great family friend who happened to own a few car dealerships. Smart business guy. I thought I'd sit down with him. And I showed him the same numbers, gave him the same presentation. And ironically, he told me the exact same thing. Glenn, if these numbers are accurate, you don't need me. Just do it. Just make it happen. That's very easily said, and a whole lot more difficult to actually do, because I still needed a whole lot of money. So I did the only next thing I knew I could do, and that was I went to the bank. So banks operated a little bit differently then. I was in my early 20s, and you would actually go into the bank. I would go in every Monday morning and make the weekly deposit and say hello to the tellers and the VP of the bank, that particular branch. And I knew them all by first name, and they all knew me. And so one particular Monday morning, I went in and asked Ken if I could sit down with him and talk to him about a loan. So I went in his office and sat down, and we started the process. And it was a lot of paperwork and a whole lot of effort, and they agreed to give me the loan, which was mind-blowing to me. But one contingency, and that was I had to put my house up as collateral. And that was scary. I was young, and Susan and I had just found out that we were pregnant with Madelenn. So there was a lot at stake, but I was all in. I worked day and night, 20 hours plus a day. Sometimes slept in this very room, up on the sofa up in the front. Whatever it took, that's what I did. And Susan was just as committed. She worked her corporate job during the day, and she would even wait tables till 11, 12 o'clock at night, while I dumped every dime back into the studio to grow it, to build it, and to pay that loan off. And there was one day in particular I remember very well, and that branch manager walked in the studio, and I thought, wow, what's he doing here? That's odd. And he said, Glenn, I need to talk to you. And I thought, man, I've been making my payments and even a little extra. Man, I hope I'm okay. We sat down in my office, and he said, Glenn, you've been paying this loan off so fast. I want you to sign this form. And I looked at the form, and it was the bank releasing that lien on my house back to me. My house was no longer collateral for the studio. And that was an amazing moment. where I really felt like all the hard work was starting to pay off. I was working 100+ hours a week. I mean, sessions are crazy, things are growing, and I really needed Susan to join me. And that was a big, huge step. To be honest, I was scared. You'd never put all your eggs in one basket, but I felt like it was time. And so she left her corporate position and joined me. And the studio just exponentially started growing. We brought on other engineers. And then in 2012, we started our recording school. And I did that so that we could help others and help cultivate some of the talent that we needed for growth here. The school's really been an amazing addition to what we do here, and we've helped a lot of students along the way. But then we expanded in ways I'd never anticipated. Clients started asking Madelenn, my daughter, to film videos and things for them. She had gotten a camera and really had gotten great at it, and the next thing I knew, an entire division in this company was born, our video and media division. And that's been exciting to see grow and change and evolve. And now to have my entire family, including Julia, involved in the business is something that just blows my mind. I never saw it coming. And it's really incredible that we all get to be together on a day-to-day basis and work toward common goals. And it really meshes well with the audio. I'd been wanting to grow the audio side of things too and create more studios for years, and we're so busy that's very difficult to do. And then 2020 happened, and I decided to go all in and build 3 additional studios. And that's exactly what we've done. The Ruby Room, the Opal Room, and the Emerald Room are now open. Artists are loving working out of those rooms. I love working out of those rooms. The other engineers here do. Video teams love working out of those rooms. And we're expanding even further, which you'll see in the future. What started as my love for an album and a pair of headphones so many years ago has grown into 5 studios, voiceover work, ADR work, full video production team, and our recording school. For every person that has been here and supported us through the years and worked hard with us, thanks just isn't enough. And I can't wait till you see what we're about to do next. We're just getting started.